get started because we already bled into the hour. My name is Bill Zhang. I'm going to be essentially your speech coach for this entire speech camp that we have. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick with the presentation that I made. All right, so can everyone see this? And if you can you give me a reaction? Possible. Like on Zoom. Okay, Anderson can see it. Can anyone else see this? Give me a reaction or something in the chat. I see Audrey can see it. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is a speech camp. Now we're gonna just start off with some introductions, icebreakers, then introducing speech as an activity, and then introducing impromptu speaking, which is one event in speech. Now, yeah, like Anderson said, since this is a speech camp, we're gonna actually have a good amount of participation. So if you could turn on your cameras throughout this entire camp, just so I can see who you are and so you can interact with each other. All right, so to get started, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Bill Zhang. I've done speech in Illinois in the United States for 4 years, all throughout my high school career. I go to Naperville North High School, where I just graduated, and next year I'm going to be attending Dartmouth College in the fall. And so in my senior year, I was the captain of the Naperville North speech team. I've competed all 4 years in speech in both the Illinois state and the national circuit. And then I've qualified for the Illinois High School Association, or IHSA, state every year. And so I'll explain a bit more about that if you guys want to hear about it. But essentially, yeah, I climbed through like the regional competitions, sectionals, and then made it to state every year. And so Illinois is a very speech-heavy school, and it is very competitive. And so we'll be getting into that competition aspect a little bit later. Here are some of the honors that I have, just so you know my credibility. I won state at IHSA, state champion, just this past spring in impromptu speaking. So that's kind of the field I specialize in. I also do original oratory, which is more of like the speaking you know and love, which is like addressing the public. And so that was at Florida Blue Key Speech Tournament, which was a national tournament. I got 3rd place. I also got 4th place at impromptu speaking in the Sunvitational tournament. And then I've qualified in original oratory and special occasion speaking to the IHSA state tournament as well. And so those were in previous years. Now I'm gonna have you guys go around actually, every student here, to introduce yourself. So just give us a very quick rundown of, right, your name, what school do you go to, what grade are you in, and then some of your favorite activities, and then why are you taking this speech camp, or what do you want to get out of this camp? Just so I know you a bit better, and as we go along this month, I can help you grow as a speaker and see where your goals lie in terms of this activity. All right, so we can do like a popcorn style thing. Honestly, we can start with Anderson. Anderson is like our assistant. He's going to be helping out throughout this month. And so Anderson, you can start off and then popcorn it to another student in the Zoom call. I'll stop sharing for this bit.
Okay, so my name, as you can probably already tell, is Anderson. I'm not sure exactly what criteria that you wanted us to introduce it, because we can't see anymore, but I am 15 years old. I'm going to be a junior in Naperville North High School in the following upcoming year. I would say, I guess one of my favorite activities is to, at least during the summer, is to swim, but unfortunately I'm unable to do that this year because of medical reasons. So that's a little unfortunate. And in this case, I'm not a student exactly, but I guess what I want to get out of this camp is definitely some great insight and some great education from a very talented speaker. And by that, I mean Bill. So yeah, I hope I get to see everyone here grow in terms of their speaking skill and their knowledge in competitive speech. I guess next up, I guess I can have Iris, let's see it.
Hello, my name is Iris. I go to Kennedy Junior High School. Well, I went to Kennedy Junior High School. I'm gonna start high school next year, and I'm going to Naperville North. And I just turned 14 today.
Did you say 14 today?
Yes.
Wow, happy birthday, I guess.
Happy birthday.
Wow, that's kind of coincidental.
And then can you introduce some of your favorite activities and what you're trying to get out of this camp? I put the stuff in the chat if you want to reference it.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to learn to be a better speaker for high school since I don't really like speaking, and some of my favorite activities. I like math and I like piano.
Nice, nice. And then we'll popcorn that over to Audrey.
My name is Audrey Hu, and I go to Pearl Middle School. I'm in 7th grade, and I'm going to turn 13 this year. My mother put me in this camp because she thinks I'm horrible at speaking, which I am, but I just want to become a better speaker, and that's it.
You got any other interesting hobbies or activities you like to do?
I like to play video games, but piano is also very fun if you pick the right piece.
Fair enough. Nice.
Nice, nice. Now I guess if Audrey, you want to popcorn to someone else, I think you can do it. Or okay, we'll just go with Alicia. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes, my name is Alicia and I'm 14, almost 15. And I'm in Herman. My school is named Herman. And my hobbies is pretty simple. I like to watch anime, to draw, to play some games sometimes. And I do origamis too. And the reason I'm in this camp because I just want to get higher mark on my language presentations.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much. Now we'll go to Katie. Are you there? I don't think we can hear you, Katie. Do you want to try your microphone again?
Yeah, I can't hear. Katie, your mic doesn't seem to be working. I don't know if it would help for you to check your audio settings. So like near the mute button, there should be an arrow upwards, like an upwards arrow. If you click on that and maybe switch your microphone to something else, maybe we'll be able to hear you. But right now, you are unmuted, but we just can't hear anything that comes out of your microphone. So, yeah.
If that's not working, go ahead and just type the stuff out in the chat. And then in the meantime, we'll have, I believe this is Andrew. Andrew, if you're there, could you share out?
Yeah, okay. So my name is Andrew. I'm in Matia Valley High School, going to be a sophomore for next school year, and I like swimming, ski, also video games. So I come here is trying to improve my public speaking skill.
Respectful reason.
And then we'll wait for Katie. You can type your stuff in the chat. And then I think the last person is a parent. But overall, I think I'm getting a great variety all over different grades, different starting levels. And I think all of you do just want to essentially get better at public speaking, speaking in general, whether that's in and outside of class, doesn't matter. This camp will definitely help you do that. And we'll do that by guiding you through some competitive speaking events and how we would practice that in a competitive speaking setting. All right. So let me represent right here. All right. Now, can everyone see this again?
I can.
Can everyone see my screen or no? Yeah? Okay, cool, yeah. Just give me a thumbs up, give me a reaction, something. That's great. So let me think. We can do a quick icebreaker. I mean, it might be hard with some mics off and some people in the car. So we might get back to this at the end if there's time, because we also started a bit late. But I'm just gonna go ahead and introduce what speech is as an activity in high school, and then compare it to some other activities, just so you guys get a sense of, what speech is and how it can guide you in your public speaking journey, all right? So speech is an activity. You've probably heard of something called speech and debate. Well, speech is like one half of that. So in high school, a lot of high schools have it separate, which speech and debate are like not the exact same, but they're both competitive activities. So these are competitive clubs and teams that you'll join in high school that essentially compete against other schools, other teams within your region, or even nationally, like I've explained before. Now, the good thing about speech is, personally, I think it's very personalized. Now, what does that mean? Well, everyone has different abilities, different skills, things they like. And in this class and in speech as an activity, you get to choose exactly what you want to do. To start, there are 14 different events in Illinois, at least, that we compete with. And so there is a huge range. I'll go over them in a bit, but everything ranging from acting to politics to dramatic and humorous things, anything that you want to do and speak about, you can, as well as topics. Topics are completely wide open. You get to choose basically any topic that you want to talk about in speech as an activity, right? And so it is very personalized, and the journey to improving in speaking is also very personalized, right? If you have coaches such as me, we can work one-on-one with you for exactly what you need to improve certain areas to make you a better speaker in general, right? So speech itself is very personalized. And so, like I said, there are events for everyone. There are 14 different events, which I'll go over. And then it also improves your professional skills, whether that's speaking, right, sounding confident, making sense, making arguments, right? I think speech, not just speaking in general, right? It didn't just improve my speaking, but it also improved my argument making, my researching, right? All of these things that are necessary in high school and beyond, you can get through speech and activities like speech, right? And so why are we focusing on speech instead of, say, debate or other activities? In high school, you might hear of other activities like JSA, Junior State of America, or something like that, or other like speaking and debate and policy clubs, right? So why speech? Well, the biggest comparison is debate, right? So debate is like exactly what you hear about, debating against other people on a specific issue. So one of the more popular debating categories in Illinois is congressional debate, where you'll have a ton of people in a room debating a bill that gets passed to the floor, and you're essentially debating the different sides to that, right? And so that is a lot of like kind of looking at both sides and arguing against the other person. Whereas in speech, you're giving individualized speeches time and time again, and you're not directly competing or tearing down someone else's speech. You're just making your speech as good as possible. And that's why I say speech is very personalized, because you're competing against yourself time and time again, and not directly with other people. You're not trying to tear down someone else or make them worse. You're trying to improve yourself. And so there's the difference between speech and debate. I'd say it's a lot less toxic, right? The environment is more constructive among everyone, because if you have good competition in speech, you also get better because you're competing against yourself and right everyone else in terms of your speeches. And so people's speeches are completely different. They're very personal, and they give you a big range of knowledge on like world issues and what's going on and different topics that you never would have noticed had you not done speech and listened to other people's speeches, right? And so that's why I think speech is super valuable, not only in improving your own skills, but also hearing the stories of other people and their lives, right? And not tearing other people down. So that's why I would pitch speech over other events like debate. And so here are some of the speech events. So what I'm going to do really quick, I'll put this in the chat. This is a doc I made a while back. You guys can take a look. I'm pretty sure it's shared. Oh yeah, and then Katie introduced herself. She goes to freshman, playing video games, and then taking this camp because her mom put her in it, which is fair. I think no matter what reason you're here, you're gonna get something out of this camp, which is the great part. So I put this doc in here. Can everyone see this? Or can everyone access this doc? Yeah. This doc is a doc of all of, or essentially how speech as a competition works, but also if you scroll down, you can scroll down to page 3 and see the descriptions of all the events. And so I'm gonna go over that now. Let me share my screen as well. All right, so let's take a look at some of these events here. So now speech is divided, in my opinion, into 3 big categories. So the categories are public address, limited preparation, and then interpretation. So these are different competitive events. Now, even if you're not interested in doing competitive speech in high school, you can definitely listen along and see just the variety of speeches you can give, because a lot of the times you think it's just one type of speaking, when in reality there's so many types of speaking, right? And so the one you're most familiar with is probably public address, and starting with original oratory. So original oratory is an event that is like an argumentative speech, a call to action, and it's usually about, usually in the structure of cause-effect solution. So you're addressing an issue, such as, say, gun violence or voter turnout, and you're talking about the causes of this issue, the effects of this issue, and how do we solve this issue, right? That's your standard 3-point speech, and it's supposed to be 8 minutes long. And similarly, we have something called an informative speech, which is not a call to action. This time it's purely to inform the audience about something. So this is usually done in, say, a structure that follows, background on the subject, the applications, and then the implications. So what does that mean? You're giving the background on a topic such as, I think people literally talked about graffiti. Graffiti was a great informative speaking topic that actually won state, I believe, 2 years ago. And they talked about the background of graffiti, where it came from, the history of it, how is it used today? What ways is it pure vandalism? Is it art, right? What is it? And then the implications. What does this mean for the future of graffiti or the future of society, right? And so that structure is informative, but it's not really taking a side on whether or not it's good or not. It's just informing the audience about a topic, right? And then lastly, we have special occasion speaking. This is more fun. It's still public address, but it is, again, kind of a call to action, but it's very lighthearted. There are a lot of jokes. You talk to a specific audience at a specific special occasion. So for example, you could be talking to the students' council members or the English department or the Boy Scouts, right? This is completely made up, obviously, but you're having fun with it and addressing a specific group that highlights an issue that still needs attention, such as technology addiction, right? Homework load, whatever. This is more fun in the realm of competitive speaking. So you might not see this directly a lot in real life. Maybe if you go to like different rallies or organizations, you might see a special occasion speech. But in general, you're going to see more informative and original oratory persuasive pieces in real life. And now we'll move on to limited preparation. Now, this is probably the most scary category which I would wholeheartedly agree with because it's exactly like what it sounds. Limited preparation means you have very little time to prepare your speech and you're giving it on the spot. So versus these public address events, these are all prepared beforehand. So for example, in years past, I would write my original oratory speeches in the summer, and then the entire season, I would not have to rewrite it. I would use the same one, maybe make small adjustments, but then use that speech over and over throughout the season, right? But limited preparation is very different. Limited preparation, when you walk into the tournament, when you walk into the room, you are given the prompt right there and then you have to come up with a speech and deliver it in that brief period of time. And so what does this mean? So the first one is extemporaneous speaking. Extemporaneous speaking is very like political. It's about current events, politics, world issues, and you're given essentially 3 prompts that ask a question, such as, will Donald Trump be victorious in this upcoming election? Or, how can Brazil best address the issue of Amazon fires, right? Stuff like that. And then you have to come up with a speech in 45 minutes using research. You can use the internet, you can research stuff, put stuff together, and create a 7-minute speech to address that issue. Now, this is what my brother did. My brother was a 3-time state champion in extemporaneous speaking. He's very good at this stuff, but this is very hard. It's a lot more based on politics, news, so you have to know your stuff for this one. Now, I was the state champion in impromptu speaking. Impromptu speaking sounds even harder because it's impromptu, right? But I'd say it's not as hard as it sounds. The thing is, it's exactly what it sounds like. You have 2 minutes. You're given the prompt and you have 2 minutes sitting at a table to prepare, organize your thoughts, and then give a 6-minute speech afterward. That sounds very crazy, right? But if you have the stories, the ideas in your head prior to that, and you're able to formulate them together in 2 minutes, it's actually a lot easier than it seems. So the prompts are usually quotes, proverbs, or phrases. So the quote that I had for state, we'll actually watch this speech in a bit, but different quotes like "sting like a butterfly, float like a bee" by Muhammad Ali. That's a quote. And you would have to formulate that into an argument and give examples for that. It sounds a bit weird, but I'll get into it a bit later, right? And so this is essentially short prep and you're giving a speech, a very solid speech about it. Now we have radio speaking. If you guys like listening to the radio or talking like you're on the radio, or if you don't even want your face to be seen, you can do radio. Radio essentially is a 5-minute newscast. They give you all the stories. You have to cut it up, put it into a folder, and then read it during competition. They don't see your face at all. They just hear your voice and how well you read the script, right? So this one is, it's a bit easier because they give you a full script. You're just reading off of it. And you don't even have to show your face. You just have to make sure it's very polished, 5 minutes exactly, and give a newscast like you would on the news. And then lastly, we have this group, which is called interpretation or interp. Now, this is more like acting. If you love acting, if you want to be an actor, or if you just want to have fun and show a lot of emotion and have fun on stage, this entire section would be great for you. So this isn't really like your traditional giving a speech, giving a 10-minute speech, whatever. It's definitely just acting. So dramatic duet acting and dramatic interpretation, you're taking someone else's work. So a lot of the times there are published works on the internet or in books, movies, whatever, and you're acting out scenes in a very dramatic way that you interpret yourself, right? And so you got to use different body language, different voices, whatnot, and you're acting it out very dramatically. And duet, there are partner events as well. So duets are a thing in high school. If you have a friend, you guys can do that together. Similarly, we have humorous interpretation. Now, this is very fun, right? Humorous interpretation is all about humor, making people laugh. Again, you're taking a published story already, a published script, and you're basically interpreting it with different characters, different acts, and then you're going about that and doing that. And so you're doing different pops, different characters by yourself, but making it very funny. And we can go over examples of this if you guys would like to see them in the near future. Next, we have oratorical declamation. Now, this is more like a regular speech, and this is like giving a speech from another person that was written or delivered by another person. So famous examples are like TED Talks. A lot of people pull TED Talks. They have the script of the TED Talk, and then they present that script like it's themselves speaking. So this is all about, how you would deliver a big or famous speech. So, Lincoln's Gettysburg Address could be an example, and then you would have to interpret that and deliver it how you would yourself. So it's essentially taking someone else's speech and delivering it in your own voice. And this is something you guys can do and practice throughout this camp, because this is one of the easier events. If you have a TED Talk or a commencement address or a speech that you really love that you've heard about before, get that script, and then you can practice delivering it yourself and working on how to become a better speaker through that. So we can definitely use this as like a stepping stone in improving your own speaking. And then lastly, we have poetry reading and prose reading. Now, these two are like, they're kind of what they sound like. Essentially, you're putting together stories for poetry reading. You're putting together poems into like a black book, and you're reading them through different vocal inflections, facial expressions, like a story that is very powerful and emotional. The best poetry champions that I've seen are so powerful. They make me cry at the state championships. They're really good. And they read poems in a way that really captivate the audience and bring together a story, right? They're cutting together multiple poems and they're creating a story from that. And so poetry reading is very hard, but it is super impactful if you're someone who likes that emotional, dramatic type of reading from like a book. And so that's something that you can do as well. And then prose reading is very similar. You're putting together pieces of literature and reading it like a story again. Again, it's usually very powerful, similar to poetry. This time it's just from books and other literature instead of poems. Right? And so the full list is also here, as you can see, on this document, if you would like to go back to that. And then let's go back to this. Okay, so here are all the topics. So I'm gonna have you guys take a break real quick because I've been talking for a long time, and you guys come back at 6:41. We'll take a 5-minute break, just so you guys can get some rest. All right, be back then. All right, it is 6:41, so come back real quick. Can you guys give me a reaction if you're back, just so I know? Audrey's back, nice. If you guys want, you can use the reactions on Zoom. I don't know if you guys have that. Iris is back, nice. Kate, yep, perfect, I can see them. All right, cool. So what we're gonna do for the rest of this class is go over my event that I specialize in, which is impromptu speaking. Now, again, this seems very daunting, but I'll break it down for you all, and then I'll show you my speech, my state winning speech, just so you guys get a better understanding of what a speech looks like, what a great speech is, you know, how I speak, how I organize it, and just so you can take it in. All right. So to start, I'll just introduce impromptu speaking. Now, this doesn't mean you have to do impromptu speaking. I'll be going over a few different examples of speeches throughout these first few days, just so you guys get a better understanding of what you want to do and try out. Because at the end of this camp, actually, the last day is going to be like a showcase day where each of you will be presenting a speech to, say, your parents or any audience members you would like. And so we're going to be gearing you to do that, but also, you know, improving your skills along the way so that basically any speech you give will be a great speech. And so to start off, we'll start with impromptu speaking. Sounds very daunting, and it kind of is, but I'll break it down for you. So when you step into an impromptu speaking room, you're given a slip of paper with 3 prompts on them. Now, these prompts will either be all quotes, like I mentioned, all proverbs, or all phrases. Now, I'll give you examples of all of these as well, but essentially what you're doing is you're picking one of the 3 prompts that you're given, and you're given 2 minutes to prepare, right? Now, this is obviously very hard for all of you right now, so we can largely expand that preparation time, but essentially you're given limited time to prepare after you see the prompts, and you need to formulate a speech in those 2 minutes and give a 6-minute speech from that 2 minutes of preparation. Now, it sounds like impossible, right? But when you break it down into the structure, it's a lot more manageable. So to start, you essentially have an introduction, 3 examples, and a conclusion. So it's kind of like a 5-paragraph essay in school, which you guys might hate, but that's how you can break it down. And so what is in the introduction? Well, if you've heard of something called an attention getter, that's usually what you have at the start of a speech or an essay. What an attention getter is it gets their attention. You need to get the audience's attention, usually using a story. So a lot of the times I have stories in my mind that I want to use for my attention getters. And so if I see a prompt that I think is easy, I have a story to back that up as my attention getter right away. So that's how that preparation time can seem a lot easier if you have stuff already memorized and ready, right? So after you have the attention getter, you need to state the quote or the prompt, and then go into 3 points. What does this mean? Well, essentially, you need to make an argument with the prompt. So I'll explain all of this when I share my speech, but essentially, the state-winning prompt that I chose was a quote by Albert Einstein. Let me see if I can search it up. Let's keep moving. Albert Einstein. Yeah, here we go. I'll put it in the chat, just so you guys can see it. So is this: life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. So that's a quote, right? But what do you do with this quote? Well, you need to make an argument with the quote. So my argument from this was that in life, there are always obstacles in your way that will present themselves, but you need to overcome these obstacles in order to succeed, right? Pretty simple. So in comparison to the quote, right, the obstacles are going to knock you off balance, but you need to keep on moving forward and you'll overcome those obstacles and succeed, right? And so that was my argument. And there are 3 points or 3 examples that you need to use to back this up. So in my speech, you'll hear I have 3 different people, 3 different stories to back up my argument. And then the conclusion just brings everything together. So what I'm going to do right now, you guys have the quote on the screen or in the chat, and then I'm going to actually show you my state winning performance. Again, the speech is like 6 to 7 minutes. It's not too long. And I'll show you guys.
And up here on stage,
can you guys hear what is going? Can you guys hear this?
impromptu speaking finalists.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So I'll full screen this, and then what I'm going to do is I'll skip over this part. This part's just clapping about awards and who won, right? They're announcing the winner.
And up here on stage,
And so I won here. All right, and now I'm giving the speech. I'll lower the volume, it's a bit loud, but yeah. And there is music throughout some of this for some reason, but it's still readable.
one day,
Can't hear it anymore. I think, Bill, if you mute up, then we can't hear the audio. So you got to stay unmuted for really long.
Okay, that works. I'll go back.
one day, inventor Richard Drew was in an auto shop when he saw workers struggling to mask one side of a car while painting the other. Now, this scene inspired his next invention, what would later be known as masking tape. Now, at his job, he started experimenting with all different kinds of materials. However, his boss told him to actually stop wasting his time and get back to his actual job. And although Drew complied, he continued his passion outside of working hours, experimenting with everything from vegetable oil to natural tree gums, whatever the heck that is. And while he was experimenting, he found his passion. And later, he was able to create not only masking tape, but also Scotch tape that we know and love today. You see, despite his boss placing that time constraint on him, he continued to keep his balance and thus fulfilled his goal of creating a new invention. And this idea of overcoming any obstacles in front of us brings us to today's quotation by Albert Einstein. Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. Essentially, what this means is that any obstacles in front of us, pitfalls or potholes, we can overcome, and we should overcome them in order to find success. And we can see this for 3 key reasons. First, by overcoming physical obstacles, we can find personal success. Second, by overcoming mental obstacles, we can inspire others. And lastly, by overcoming emotional obstacles, we can fulfill the promises that we made. But first, it's clear that we need to overcome physical obstacles in our path in order to find personal success. And this can be seen through Chef Christine Ha. Now, Christine Ha is best known for winning MasterChef Season 3. However, Ha is not your ordinary home cook. You see, Christine Ha is blind. She can cook authentic Vietnamese dishes without even seeing the ingredients, while I can barely scramble eggs with my eyes open. However, Christine Ha's journey to success was not easy at all because she wasn't actually born blind. In her late 20s, she began losing her vision due to an autoimmune disorder. And so one day, she was able to cook grand Thanksgiving dinners for her family, and the next, she couldn't even put together a PB&J. It seemed like her life was completely out of balance. However, she knew, just like Albert Einstein said, that she had to keep moving. And she did. Slowly but surely, she began relearning her way around the kitchen, starting with basic knife skills using a butter knife, and even relearning how to boil water. By taking baby steps, but keeping on that path towards her journey, well, she was able to succeed, relearning her way around the kitchen with only 4 senses, and eventually becoming one of America's best master chefs. You see, it's clear. She was able to overcome that physical obstacle in her path by continuing to move towards her goal, and thus found personal success because of it. But second, you also have to see that we need to overcome mental obstacles in our path in order to inspire others. And this can be seen through writer Angela Duckworth. Now, Duckworth was always a very studious person, so much so that she got into Harvard University. But to no one's surprise, Harvard was actually hard. You see, in her first class of neurobiology, she was failing so much so that her professor told her to drop the class entirely. Now, Duckworth did what any rational person would do. She decided to go to the registrar and declare neurobiology as her major. Yeah, you see, she wanted to prove her professor wrong. Despite that mental obstacle her professor imposed on her, she knew in order to keep her balance, she had to keep moving towards her goal. And by declaring neurobiology as her major, well, she would have no choice but to stay on that path. And she did. Slowly but surely, using passion and perseverance, she was able to major in neurobiology and also go on to write her best-selling book, Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance, which would go on to inspire so many others with her story. You see, Angela Duckworth knew, just like Albert Einstein said, that to keep her balance in life, in order to major in neurobiology and succeed, she had to keep going step by step. And she did just that in order to inspire so many others with her book. And lastly, we can see we also need to overcome emotional obstacles in order to fulfill the promises that we made. And this can be seen through weightlifter Matthias Steiner. Prior to the 2008 Olympic Games, Steiner had promised his wife that he would win a gold medal in Olympic weightlifting. However, unfortunately, just the summer before the Games, his wife passed away in a tragic car accident, leaving Steiner in a depressed state. During that time, he lost over 15 pounds, detrimental to an Olympic weightlifter. However, he knew he still had a goal in mind, a promise that he had to keep. And so in order to keep his balance, he decided to keep pedaling, slowly but surely regaining his weight, making his way back onto the Olympic team. And in the final lift of the clean and jerk, he was able to lift over 15 pounds more than his previous competitor and over 20 pounds more than his previous attempt, solidifying him with that gold medal. You see, Steiner knew exactly what Albert Einstein was saying. Despite that emotional obstacle in front of him, that trauma, he had to keep pedaling in order to stay upright. And he did just that, because on that final podium, he held a gold medal in one hand and a picture of his late wife in the other. So when returning back to today's quotation by Albert Einstein, life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you've got to keep moving. Essentially, what this means is that any roadblocks, obstacles, or potholes in our way, well, we need to overcome them, and we can. By doing so, we can see why it's so important for three key reasons. First, by overcoming physical obstacles, we can find personal success like line chef Christine Ha. Second, by overcoming mental obstacles, we can inspire others like Angela Duckworth. And lastly, by overcoming emotional obstacles, we can fulfill the promises that we made like Matthias Steiner. So when looking back at Richard Drew, we can see despite he had time obstacles in front of him imposed by his boss, well, he knew in order to keep his balance and continue on towards his goal of inventing something, he had to work overtime outside of his work, and he was able to do so, inventing not only masking tape, but also Scotch tape that would go on to better the lives of so many others.
All right. So that was my speech. Hopefully you all were listening, but it is also on my YouTube channel, which I guess I'll link real quick. So if you want to go back and watch that, I'll link it. I'll also
Up here on stage, the impromptu.
I'll also put it in an email as well, so you guys can rewatch that. But yeah, so let's take a look and go back to like this step-by-step thing, right? So what are the things that I did? Again, this speech was given on stage, but during the final round, I only had 2 minutes to prepare that entire speech, right? So what did I do? Well, I instantly came up with an attention getter, right? My attention getter was the story of Richard Drew, an inventor who was told by his boss to stop wasting his time, but worked overtime in order to invent Scotch tape and masking tape, right? So that was my attention getter. And what did that story tell me? That story was about Richard Drew, who overcame those time obstacles and fulfilled his dream of inventing something, just like Albert Einstein was saying. any obstacle in your path, you can keep moving and overcome it, right? And so that connected directly to the quote. But I also had 3 examples, and they were pretty different. One was a physical example of blind chef Christine Ha, who was able to succeed despite that physical obstacle of being blind. The second was a mental obstacle of Angela Duckworth, whose professor did not believe in her at all, but she still pushed forward and majored in neurobiology to inspire people. And then lastly, we also had Matthias Steiner, the weightlifter, who, although his wife passed away, he was able to fulfill his promise and win that gold medal by pushing forward and continuing to move. Every example followed a similar pattern that connected to the quote, right? And in the conclusion, I recapped all of that and brought it back all together. And so that's essentially what impromptu speaking is. If you like this structure, if you want to give it a try, you definitely can. And so what I'm going to leave you all with at the end of class today is just for this class, what I want you all to do is just start watching some speeches. So something you can do is literally go on YouTube and search up IHSA state speech. If you search up IHSA state speech, you'll have so many videos, including mine here, of state champions and different events. For example, this is original oratory, this is poetry, this is comedy, right? This is my brother's extemporaneous speaking video. Go ahead, search this up, just IHSA state speech, and go watch a few videos. Hopefully you can watch at least 1, 2, or 3 videos before next class on Thursday. And so that's basically like your homework for this class, just so you get a better understanding of, what great speakers sound like, how they structure their arguments, and also different events, right? If you're interested in one of the events, go back to this document here. I'll link it again, right? Look through the events. If you want to be more specific, search up IHSA state speech, say special occasions speaking. And then boom, you'll have videos on that right here. So do that for homework, watch at least 2 of them, right? 2 to 3 videos, and come back next class with an idea of the favorite events that you have and like what you want to use to become better at speaking throughout this course. And then I'll be going over, what makes a speaker good and how they sound good, right? What are the tools that we use as we give a speech? I'll be going over all of that in the next class. So thank you all for being here. Hopefully you all learned something, and we'll see you all next time. All right. See you.
Coming around. Bye.
Bye. All right. Anderson, do we have anything else, or?
Hold on, let me see. Hold on. Oh, we didn't give them any homework. They're already gone. Homework? Why? It's the introductory. We can't give them homework or anything right now. They will practice speech. The whole point of the month is to have them do like a speech event, kind of like speech by the end of it. What? Okay, but this is the first time around. All right, so yeah, I don't know if you could hear that, but my mom just basically questioning, oh, there's gonna be homework, they're gonna be speaking, but this is the first one, so I don't really know why.
No, I'll send out an email. Again, the homework for today is just watching speeches. We'll give them more homework in the next few lessons.
Alicia and Rong Chen, do you guys have any other questions or anything? You guys are just
No, I don't have any question.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you're free to go.
Free to go.
Okay.
I also gotta go as well. I have another thing to go to, but yeah,
Okay.
I'll send out an email later.
All right. See you next week or whatever.
Or Thursday.
Thursday, my bad. All right, bye.